Were you here?
Yeah, with his neighbor.
Okay, this is the second time.
Oh, was it pictures in there?
Patty?
That house? It's bad.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's council meeting for August 13th, 2013. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Can you do that?
Hanson. Jarvis. Here. Sedlacek.
Present.
Markham.
Here.
Williams. Here. Nelson.
Here.
Fernsler. Anderson.
Present.
Let the record show we have a quorum for a common council meeting. Next item is the pledge. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 on the agenda is to approve the list of items for consideration on the consent agenda. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Alder Marco.
Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Jarvis. Fernsler.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 4 is the audience portion, where we ask the audience to sign in and be identified, be called on by the chair, and this is where you get to talk and we get to listen. Tonight, we have one person that signed in, Margaret Whitcup. Will you come forward and tell us what's on your mind, please?
Do I need to go to the mic?
If you want to, sure.
I
Or,
just signed
or
up because
speak up on,
Truthfully, Yeah, personally, I just signed up because there was a piece of paper in front of me and I signed it because it said sign here, so anyway. But I would just say that I'm here to answer any questions regarding the agenda item that concerns my building, and I thank you for your consideration, and I'll sit down. Thanks.
thank you. We do encourage people to come and address the council and tell us things of concern that are of interest to you, that you think we should be interested in as well, and we certainly want to encourage that. And the reminder is that when you come and talk to us, we don't debate you. We appreciate your coming forward. Item 5, presentation on American Transmission Company, ATC. I'll call on Administrator Jurgis to start with the introductions.
Sure. Kurt Hendrickson is here tonight. He is a senior regional manager with ATC. And I was talking with him not too long ago, and I asked if he could come and give a little bit of a presentation and update on ATC. We've had some new council members over the last couple of years, and it's been a while since ATC has been here, but we are a owner of ATC. The utilities does own a piece of ATC, which provides a nice dividend to the utilities. And I thought it would be appropriate for Kurt to tell us a little bit about ATC and what's going on. So Kurt,
Well, thank you.
take it.
My name's Kurt Hendrickson. I work for American Transmission Company in Customer Relations. So I call on all the municipal utilities that are interconnected to our system, Plymouth being one of them. As Brian said, you are an owner of ATC. Your shares right now, at the end of May, were about $3.1 million invested in us. So you're not just a customer, you're an owner. WPPI, which you're a part of, their stake is up to about $68 million. What ATC does is we're the high voltage transmission network in Wisconsin. We're getting the power from wherever it's generated to like your local substations. So we're the highway for the electricity. And on this page 2, our service territory is in the black here. We have most of Wisconsin and the upper peninsula of Michigan. And then that black line you're seeing going north, that was the line that we built a number of years ago that goes from Wausau up to Duluth. They call that the Arrowhead Weston line. And we have, our headquarters is in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. My office is in Madison. We also have offices in De Pere and Kingsford, Michigan. Our control centers are located in both Pewaukee and in Cottage Grove. We split the system and run it from those two control centers, but if there's an emergency, we can run the whole thing from either one. So we're set up for that. We were founded in 2001, and we started with 550 million in assets, and we're now up to 3.1 billion. 9,440 miles of lines and 525 substations, so a pretty big operation. This next one, I just wanted to show you, Wisconsin's kind of challenged as far as being connected to our neighbors for electricity because we got the Great Lakes surrounding us, so it makes it a little trickier. Right now, we have 7 ties to the outside, where you'll see Minnesota has 18, Iowa 10, Illinois 24. We've got 2 more ties that we're working on right now. That dashed line that's on there, that's a line we're proposing coming up in the fall here from Madison to La Crosse. They've called that Badger Coulee. We're pretty far along in that process, and we're partnered with Xcel Energy now in building that. And then from the bottom right part of that line, that's the Cardinal substation by Madison. We'll be running another line that we're proposing with ITC to go to Dubuque, Iowa. So those are 2 more ties that we're working on now. One good thing that we've done over this course of this last 12 years is we've got the grid much better connected and with less congestion, so you can buy energy at a better price. About 5 years ago, we were $10 more a megawatt hour than our neighboring pricing hubs, and now we're less than $1. So by getting rid of the congestion, we're giving you better access to power, which when you're running a utility is your giant expense. On that next slide 4, we did receive an Edison Award for the 220-mile Arrowhead Weston project. That was the first project built in Wisconsin in about 20 years. When the investor-owned utilities were vertically integrated, they didn't really want to, a lot of times, improve their system because a neighboring utility would benefit from it and their ratepayers would pay. So when they decided to bring us on, they wanted one entity that was just worried about making the transmission system work right. On that slide, it says 55, but it's 5. We've had a very successful track record for getting projects large and small built. We are taking our expertise outside the footprint now. We formed a partnership with Duke Energy called DATC, and we're proposing lines throughout the Midwest. We just purchased one in California to get our foothold in that state. And there's a big project that we're trying to go, it's called the Zephyr Project, that'll run from the wind farms in North Dakota out toward Utah and into the southwest Wisconsin, or United States. They feel that when they did form us, it was right after the big blackouts in the east, and they were worried that our state's grid wasn't being handled right. So what we've been focusing on now is to get better reliability, so there aren't outages, better access so that it doesn't cost as much, getting generation connected, and the bottom one is when the mandates come for green power and having a renewable energy portfolio, it's our job to get those resources hooked up also. As we said earlier, you're one of our 28 owners. And the model seems to be working really well. And we've been growing strong. The first access project we built in the MISO footprint was a 35-mile line from Paddock to Rockdale. We've got another 3.9 to 4.8 billion investment coming up in the next 10 years. And on that very last page, one of the things you might want to take a look at is our 10-year assessment. Every year in the fall, we look out 10 years at what we think needs to be done to reduce congestion, improve reliability, and what we should be investing in. And that www.atc10yearplan.com will show you what we're doing. You're in our planning zone 4. There's 5 planning zones, and you'll see all the proposed projects there. And then just that last page just has some more. Our website, the top one, atcllc.com, has a lot of all of our projects and a lot of information on what we are and what we do. And my email address is there if anybody has any other questions after this or needs anything. But
10-year plan that was just recently updated not too long ago, correct?
every fall, so now it'll be updated again.
Okay.
They're working on it right now.
Yeah. The WPPI, the CEO of WPPI sits on the ATC board, so we do have representation through the WPPI CEO on their board. Any questions for Kurt while he's here, or?
The only thing we're working on right now, we have a couple things we're working on locally. There's a couple of tap lines that are transmission lines that we're looking to purchase from the utility. So we're doing due diligence right now to be able to purchase those assets. And we've got an agreement between our entities called a Transmission and Distribution Interconnection Agreement. We've just brought that language up to today's standards, and we're filing with FERC, so we'll be bringing that out for signature in probably another 3 to 6 months.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Thank
you
you, Kurt.
taking your time, Kurt, to come and visit and address the council, and certainly the information for all of us and the public to go on the website and check out some of the information is helpful. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving on to item 6, Sheboygan County Economic Development Corporate Update. Again, I'll ask Administrator Jurgis to do the introductions and go from there. Brian.
Sure. Dane Chekalinsky is with us tonight. Dane has been with SCDC for a couple years now, but I think it's this year that he's been promoted to the executive director role. And I meet with Dane on a monthly basis and have a lot of contact with Dane, and I thought it would be appropriate at this point in the year for Dane to give a little update on SCDC, and the city does, through the general fund budget, provide a contribution to SCDC. So Dane, did the login work?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yes, it did.
Do you have the TV on?
I
Yep.
have it on blank screen right now.
Oh, okay. That's
So
why it,
we should be fine. But thank you for this opportunity. I hope to provide a very brief overview of essentially what our goals have been, what we're doing, what we have done for area companies, some of the growth that we've experienced, and ultimately where we want to go. So it's going to be a very, hopefully a brief overview, but very inclusive of our organization. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to the City of Plymouth for contributing to our organization. I'm sure as many of you are aware, we were formed in 2010 as a result. Our offices opened in 2010, and we were formed primarily as a result of several large manufacturing closures in this area that affected us all. And so because we lost so many great jobs in this area, business leaders and community leaders like yourself took it upon themselves to create an organization that can react to the company's needs of this area. So when we were formed in 2010, the first overall goal of the organization, there was 2 primary goals. The first was to help create or retain 3,500 jobs in 5 years, as well as help induce $100 million of investment. And I'll show you where we are, actually as of yesterday, because as of today, a new project just landed. Basically, we've created about 540 new jobs. We've helped companies with various packages, and I'll show you what those all include. Most of our work has been with existing companies to help retain jobs, make sure they stay competitive in this area. And what we found out is actually the investment is far easier. We've already exceeded our 5-year goal, 3.5 years in. So right now, I mean, obviously the big push is on jobs, jobs, jobs. Everyone knows jobs are kind of a byproduct of wealth generation. People don't go into business saying, I'm going to create jobs. They go into business saying, I'm going to create wealth for myself. So we are certainly working on it. So this is where we stand right now with about 1.5 years left. How we do this? Basically, our organization acts as a service center for companies, primarily in 3 areas: non-traditional financing options, site selection options, as well as workforce development. As part of this, we created a series of guides, just to give you an idea of the types of resources that are out there. Everyone hears that government's got all these resources to help companies. You keep hearing it. Elected officials at the federal and state level talk about it, but what actually are they? How do you access them? Who do you need to contact? What are the program guidelines? Those are all the things that we can assist companies and not only let them know what's out there, but also helping them apply for these types of programs. So I'm just giving one example of one of the guides we've created, and I hope to pass it around. I believe I have enough for all the aldermen. I'm not sure I have enough to go completely around no more. But this is our workforce guide. As you can see, once you open it up, you'll see on the first page are resources to help find qualified employees. On the second page are resources that can help train employees. And then finally, how to separate candidates. So it's just kind of this broad overview. The different programs, what's good about them, what's not so good about them, and basically allows us to have a conversation with a company very easily. And essentially, what we really like to do is project-based. We like to work with well, that formatting didn't work. What we like to do is work one-on-one with the company, and basically, depending on their needs, whether it's financial, whether it's workforce, whether it's a building or site, and we work with them to remove the barrier to their growth. This is an example of some of the financial resources that we've helped bring to bear, and I apologize, it is a little goofy. We've helped out 7 companies with loans, 7 companies with tax credit allocations. We've done some performance-based loans, which basically they create the jobs, they don't have to pay it back. We've done a land grant. The very large transportation is the Plymouth-Nicola Rail Line, now the Sheboygan Falls Subdivision, I believe it's officially called, as well as some workforce training. So in our 3.5 years of operations, we've been able to bring about $23 million worth of public assistance to our area's companies, most of this being state funds. One of the things that I'm very proud of is that in addition to our projects, we're still trying to solve many of the issues. We get a lot of feedback from companies. And one of the things that brought up right away when I started working in 2011 here is that we were helping a local company try to find a site in Sheboygan Falls. And what we found out very quickly is that there was no good database of commercial properties available in Sheboygan County. You can go on a Century 21 website and you can click the number of bathrooms you want and maybe find a commercial building. It's just not conducive to commercial listings. Most of the larger commercial listings, what I would call the game changers, the 10,000, 20,000 square foot buildings, you know, the types of buildings you really want to see occupied, those were in another system called Xceligent. By the way, that costs $3,000 to access, and that's only used by Milwaukee, commercial brokers out of Milwaukee. Sheboygan County is very much considered the Milwaukee market. So what we did is, see in this era, we basically took the MLS data, we got permission from the Board of Realtors, we paid for the Xceligent data, and now we're combining it into a single system that anyone can view for free. There are currently 160 commercial listings on this database. There's also some really nifty apps. There's an app for this thing, and it's also available on our website. I believe the City of Plymouth also has a local edition of just what's inside the City of Plymouth as well on their website. So, you know, one of the biggest barriers is, you know, we want to find a building or site in the area, but prior to about a year ago, there was absolutely no way to find a property without knowing where to dig. So that's one example of what we've been working on the side when these projects aren't ongoing. One other additional project as we get more and more advanced, and that's the reason why you saw the front slide of walk, crawl, run, or is it crawl, walk, run, is that as we build up our service center and our capabilities of providing these types of resources, it allows us to take that next step. One of the next steps that we're getting into is attraction marketing. Attraction marketing on the average is about twice as expensive as helping a local company, but I think it's one thing we all agree that we need to bring in additional investment. So one thing that we've really gone around the area is we've created a brand new set of listings. We've asked many of the communities to do brokerage commissions. We began posting the 4 primary business parks, so Plymouth, Oostburg, Sheboygan, and Sheboygan Falls, in a series of databases. You can see we post them in some of the brokerage databases, including Xceligent, LoopNet, and CoStar. Those are kind of more professional-driven items. There are some public ones, Commercial Search and City Feed are 2 online databases. And then 2, I'd call them site selection. There's a whole subgroup of brokers out there called site selection consultants. These are the firms that say if a company wants to site a new facility in the Midwest, they will take a look at everything from water usage to taxes to workforce, and they will really literally provide the best possible site for a company by looking at a myriad of factors. So we made sure that our 4 business parks are listed in all of them. And as an example of of how new this is and kind of how effective this is. I can pass this around. This is the listing activity for just the Plymouth Business Park. We posted this about 3 weeks ago. In 3 weeks, it came up on 1,100 search results out of LoopNet. Now, out of those search results, 15 people viewed it. So there's 1,100 searches of people looking for industrial land in Wisconsin that we were missing. Man, that's 300 a week. It scares me what else we haven't done yet, what else we haven't thought of yet. And out of that time, 15 times it popped up. So about 3 to 5 people a week are seeing this property that hadn't done before. So it's really kind of, every time I see something like that, it's like, oh, what do we miss? What else do we need to do? You know what I mean? It's pretty great. In terms of our growth, this is where we came from. This is where we opened. When we opened up our doors in 2010, we had an operating budget of about $230,000. Most of it public money, the vast majority of it public money. We've been able to balance that out over the last 3.5 years. We've also almost doubled our operating budget. We went from 28 private companies that supported us now to 74. So I think we made some tremendous strides in trying to make sure the public monies are stretched and trying to provide a comprehensive service. So where are we going? As a matter of fact, last week, our executive committee made a decision that we are going to bring 2 more people on staff. Right now, it's myself and an admin assistant. We also have a contracted employee. We've got the go-ahead to hire 2 additional people because we need them right now. As the economy is recovering, our call volume are increasing. As we do more and more of this attraction marketing, more energy is just going to be needed. So where we go? Our first and primary goal will always be is the retention of companies. I think we saw that with Dairy Farmers of America in this community. It was primarily the reason for our formation. The next thing that we want to do is provide that service center. I don't want to say the warehousing or the wholesaling of what resources out there for our area companies. We're moving into the attraction marketing phase. The next phase is the value added. One thing that we've noticed over the last 3 years when we did kind of an analysis of our projects is we know that we have never closed a project in less than 50 days. We know after 250 days, the odds of us closing a quote unquote or helping a company drop off dramatically. So we know we have this window. So the question is, what other services can we provide to help close that gap in that window? And then finally, sustainable initiatives. There are real man-made barriers to growth, things that we've done either inadvertently or as a group of companies that kind of stifle business growth. One great example, I think right now, is that I think short-term long-term, I think workforce will be the greatest challenge to our area. We're in the upper Midwest. We have a pretty flat population rate. So the question is what can we do in that arena that helps keep young talent here and helps attract young talent? So ultimately, we're trying to solve the problems and the issues that our business community is facing. That is the ultimate goal. We're probably several years away from having true hard initiatives in there, but it's where I'd like to take the organization. So with that, I want to open it up for questions, if there are any questions, if that's fine with you, Mayor.
Certainly.
I did want to hand around a copy of our last annual report as well as a copy of this presentation if you want to take it home with you. If you want to throw it away, it's really up to you. So,
Question, Dan,
yes.
where do you see the next area of growth in the county? Any particular cluster or area?
Sure. I think we're looking at one immediate need of warehousing. I think that is an absolute need. General manufacturing has certainly seemed to pick up. One of the things that I think Plymouth certainly has it going for it is the dairy industry. As a matter of fact, we were engaged by 2 other dairy-related industries in the past 2 weeks. One company, actually both are looking at starting up facilities here that have not been here, existing companies, so that's always very positive. I think overall we're going to be looking at, I I think the biggest thing that we're gonna see is manufacturing make an almost identical shift that agriculture has made, in terms of becoming extremely efficient, extremely, fast producing. If you look back as late as the 1920s, most Americans were farmers. Well, nowadays, less than 5%. I think you're gonna see that same shift in manufacturing. So I think it's gonna become much more specialized, either they're gonna become very specialized or very high production run orientated. I think one of the biggest challenges we have that'll affect what we can and cannot do is the non-attainment issue in the county. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but Sheboygan County is the last non-attainment county in the state. We are the last county where every citizen needs to go get their vehicles emissions tested. We're the last county in which our manufacturers who have to put in a new machinery that affects, that has some sort of, I don't want to say, has some sort of air discharge, that they have to go through a 12-month permitting process. Now, in a economy where everything is just in time, when speed to market is absolutely critical, when our companies are bidding on a project and saying, you know, we'd love to have that capability, we'd love to add that piece of machinery, but it'll take us 12 months to get the permit. That puts us at an incredible disadvantage. And I think one of the opportunities that Plymouth may be presented is that the current push is to try to get half the county out of non-attainment. It's the same thing they did in Kenosha County. As a matter of fact, the eastern part of Kenosha County is non-attainment, western part is. Basically, that would leave Plymouth as the last large community in attainment status in the county. Combined with the railroad, opening up 23, I think there's real opportunity in this community. So.
Do you work with schools and LTC, for instance, to talk about the future and workforce needs? And
Sure. On a regular basis, no. We do work with LTC a lot on some of these training programs that they have, but there's a separate organization that's kind of sparked and spun out of the Sheboygan County Chamber of Commerce. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Inspire, but the Sheboygan School District, Sheboygan Falls, and Plymouth School Districts have all agreed to join this organization and to do precisely that. Work K through 12 education, connect them with employers, and make sure kids understand what opportunities are going to be there in the future, because we have a tremendous aging workforce and a lot of technical, very well-paying jobs available, and their role is to try to nudge students in that direction. They're just getting their boots off the ground. I wouldn't expect to have too many results here in the first year or two. It just takes that long for an organization to get its legs underneath its feet. But directly, no, but I would point at Inspire and say that's the organization that is doing it.
We thank you very much for taking the time in the evening to come and address the council and give us an update on what is going on the SCEDC, and certainly the continued relationship with our administrator and the community. We like to refer to it as out west. And if you can get that attainment change done, that would really be very beneficial. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. The next item on the agenda is a consent agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Alder Anderson. Second, Alder Sapacek.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Williams,
Yes.
Nelson,
yes,
Fernsler,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Jarvis. Sedlacek.
Yes.
Markham.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8 is not needed. Item 9, revolving loan committee. Recommendation from July 30th, 2013 meeting. Approve consolidation of the Veritas Financial Service LLC and Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner LLC revolving loans with Margaret Whitcup to a 15-year amortization, adding 2% past due interest and up to $20,000 in additional funding when loan funds are available and upon documentation of expenditures beginning at 1% interest and increasing by 1% every 18 months. A balloon payment due in 7 years. additional, the funeral home as added collateral, release of Warren Whitcup from the personal guarantees. I'll ask Administrator Yurgis to give us a brief explanation, and then we'll entertain a motion for discussion. Brian?
Don't have a whole lot more to add, but Mel Blanky would have liked to have been here, but he, I believe, is away and cannot attend tonight. This is something the RLF committee has been discussing for some time. Some personal matters needed to be cleared up. Those personal matters have been taken care of, and now the request is basically to combine 2 existing loans into 1 loan and have 1 annual payment in order to assist repayment. To decrease it to about 1% and increasing it by 1% every 18 months, and then a balloon payment. One of the loan, I believe one, if not both, have been in an unpaid status for some time. So 1 out of the 2, and so this would be restarting payments on the entire amount. And so basically this is a restructure of the loans in order to avoid default, and hopefully payments will begin, and it also provides additional capital for fixing part of the building, which there's also personal funds coming into the repairs as well, in addition to the new monies that we're putting in.
Thank you, Brian. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the recommendation from revolving loan committee.
So moved, Alder Hanson. Second, Alder Sabacek.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Markham,
Yes.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Jarvis,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. If we have any paperwork, you can coordinate that, Margaret, with the clerk's office and or Brian, and then we'll go from there. Thank you. Item 10, new business, approved payment of rescinded 2012 property taxes to James W. Panko Jr. in the amount of $12,269.70, with payment to come from TID 4 funds. Clerk Huberty, would you give us a summary on that, please?
Pretty much, my memo states it clearly. Mr. Panko came to my office and, said that he was wondering why his 5 properties hadn't been changed to agricultural status from business, I guess, commercial use. And so I looked into it. I talked with Mike Diener, and he had processed a couple of properties, but inadvertently had forgotten to change 5 properties, and they indeed did need to be changed. He has documented that the properties are being farmed with planted crops. I consulted also with Laura Hanning-Lorenz, the county treasurer, on how to handle this, and she does, in these circumstances, she prepares a new tax bill and determines what the credit should be, and that is, the copy of what she sent me is attached to the memo. It is a true fact that we do owe this tax back to Mr. Panko. It would come from TID 4 funds, as all of the properties are in TID 4. It also does increase the value, obviously, of that TID 4 property.
Thank
So
you.
I ask for your consent, your approval to pay this rescinded tax back out of TID 4 funds.
Thank you, Clerk Huberty. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the amount of $12,269.70.
So move, Alder Nelson.
Second, Alder Anderson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Alderman Sedlacek.
Does that mean we'll have basically a decrease of $12,269 in the general fund?
TID 4
In
funds.
TID 4.
Oh, in the TID 4 fund?
TID 4 has a fund balance And so it'll
Okay.
come from the fund balance of TID 4. But as you know, revenues in TID 4 are not at this point are not enough to cover future costs.
Right.
So that fund balance will continue to decrease. And so basically the TIF is out $12,000 annually until
So, okay.
the TIF closes, which isn't a good thing, obviously.
Okay.
Any other questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Williams,
Yes.
Yes.
Nelson, Fernsler,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jarvis, Sedlacek,
Yes.
Markham.
Yes. Motion carried, thank you. Item B, Chair hereby announces a public hearing on August 27th, 2013 at Plymouth City Hall, 128 Smith Street at 8 o'clock p.m. in room 302 regarding resolution number 12 of 2013. An amendment to the final development plan for the Commonwealth Town Home Planned Use Development. And that is on our website, or will be shortly, if people want to look into it, or they can stop in to the clerk's office and get information on that PUD resolution number 12 for 2013. Moving on, item 11, Chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 paren 1 paren C. Combine 13 and 14? Because they are separate.
Oh. Sure. I thought that 13 was really just, okay, we're gonna be talking about 14.
Okay,
so-
I'll just ask for the consent of the council to combine 13 and 14. Without any objection, we'll so move. Okay.
Oh, man.
Hey, you can just skip it.
Yeah, you can.
Let the record show that we're now back in open session. Moving on to items 13 and 14. Without objection, the chair will combine these and will entertain a motion from the floor, and I'll call on Alderman Sean Markham, Chairman of the Finance Committee.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to change the job description of the electrical superintendent to the electrical operations manager. And I recommend that we change the salary to $90,000 a year. That would be retroactive to the first pay period in August through the year 2014. I also recommend that we change the job description of the Director of Public Works to the Director of Public Works / City Engineer. I also recommend that that salary be changed to $100,000 retroactive per year, retroactive to the first pay period in August 2013 through 2014. And I recommend that we change the job description of the city administrator to the city administrator / utilities manager. And I recommend that that salary be changed to $115,000 annually, retroactive to the first pay period in August 2013 through the year 2014.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call, I'm sorry, Alderperson Jarvis.
Yep, thank you.
Didn't see you.
We've been talking about these changes to the positions for a number of years now, and I'm very happy that these changes have been made, and happy with the recommendations from the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Markham,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jarvis.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a comment. I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of myself as well as Bill and Jim for continuing your support of myself as well as these two individuals. And I can assure you that we will continue to work on doing things for the long-term good of the city of Plymouth. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to continue the relationship with the city of Plymouth. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Alder Hanson.
Second, Alder Markham.
All in favor, say aye.